Like magic, I am back at the Beastmaker's I'm back. I am back at the Beastmaker's level. Testing. Can you guys hear me? I'm sure you heard that. Really wish I had a better. Can you guys hear me? Hi. If you guys can hear me, that's great.
Nasty Nork is turning our swamp into an electrified junk heap. And it used to be so beautiful.
I'm sure it was.
People say that the Spyro, the original Spyro series is either well liked or hated. My opinion is it's great, but I like how they really did a good job. Anybody's trying to tell me not to. Because I love this whole Spyro series. I might give Shadow Legacy a try. Ow!
Watch out, Spyro. The Norks in these pods have discovered the power of electricity, and it really stings.
Good job, Spyro. One day you'll be able to tell all the dragons about your amazing adventures.
Sure, but what I'd really like to do is get out of this swamp.
So notice I got a lot of lives. And my first try, I got rid of both Toasty, Blowhard, and Dr. Shep without getting hit. Bubsy don't see eye to eye with each other. Even though I got the All-Star, the Bubsy collection, whatever. have the 3D one. Yeah, I would play Enter the Dragonfly. I just have to. I just have to procure the courage to find the stuff. By courage, I mean it's been a while since I played any of those games. Like, for example, I played, Spyro, as a kid. The one I grew up with was technically Year of the Dragon, not Year of the Dragon, but Enter the Dragonfly. And I couldn't figure out where the one gem was, and I forgot that you can use sparks to tell you where the last few gems are. If you need to use sparks, that is. Most people can just look for the gems without using sparks. Neon sparks? Jeez. Ah! Ow! Like, the only thing I didn't like in Into the Dragonfly was the bubble breath, but the bubble breath was a little bit necessary. It was really hard to pinpoint with the bubble breath. With Spyro. Mostly because he didn't cooperate with me, per se. There's this annoying little gnat. Very persistent. A little gnat. Oh yeah, you get a skill point from doing that. Okay, there's that. Terrence Village is done. Ah! it down wrong. Okay, in order. You got the first Spyro the Dragon, the second Spyro the Dragon, Enter the Dragonfly is supposed to be the fourth game. Fifth being Attack of the Rhinox, sixth being Hero's Tale, seventh being The Legend of Spyro New Beginning, and 8 being Legend of Spyro The Eternal Night, 9 being Dawn of the Dragon. What? There has to be a... Okay, I think I got it. Okay, so yeah, okay. It says here, Spyro the Dragon, Spyro the Dragon 2, Spyro 3, Year of the Dragon, Spyro 4, Enter the Dragonfly, Spyro 5 is Season of Ice, Spyro 6 is Spyro 2, Season of Flame, Spyro 7 is Attack of the Rhinox, not counting the mobile game. Then you got Spyro Ripto Quest, which is also a mobile game. It's not counting the mobile game. 8 is Hero's Tale. 9 is... I can't really count it, but it's Spyro Orange, the Cortex Conspiracy. 10 is Shadow Legacy, and 11 is the Reignited Trilogy. Unless I'm missing something. But there is, in fact, 11 known Spyro games. Discover why Spyro... Okay, let me see. Okay, so the designers of Spyro, who invented Spyro basically, was Ted Price, Ray West, and Toby Jott. Whoa! Take this. Take this. Okay. Listen to this. The character hit the PlayStation at the exact right time, and even though he wasn't the console's official mascot, he gained a certain reputation that spawned the release of 3 classic games that were the best games the PlayStation had to offer. Spyro's lasting power has succeeded the original PlayStation in 2 decades, and as is absent, he's still relevant and popular in the video game world. Arguably, Spyro's auto of celebrity has fluctuated through the years, but it looks like the character in the series could be back on top after a recent release, Spyro Reignited Trilogy. This is a strong time for nostalgia, but the Reignited Trilogy package remasters these old games and smoothens out their rough edges. Whether you're a seasoned Spyro veteran or new to the franchise, the collection of games is a perfect window into why this character in his games has so much appeal. With the release of Spyro Reignited Trilogy and the hope that more new Spyro news may be imminent, here are 30 things only gamers know about Spyro. Insomniac gave up on the series after Spyro 3 because of Spyro's limited hands. Plenty of Spyro titles have come along after the success of the original trilogy on the PlayStation, but they've been without the involvement of the series' original developers, Insomniac Games. Insomniac had taken Spyro to the exciting places over the course of their games, but they felt that the property had gone so far as it could go. One of the major reasons that Insomniac Games struggled to find a future for Spyro is because the character is limited with his hands. The character isn't able to hold on to anything. Of course, with something as popular as Spyro, other studios decided to mess around with the Spyro formula. The games feature advanced enemy AI. It might seem like a given with how sophisticated modern video games have become, but the concept of an advanced enemy artificial intelligence back in the 90s was a lot to handle. Gamers were used to the enemies that followed a set pattern and acted in the same receptive manner. Spyro the Dragon strived to surpass this limitation. The game's enemies had more than one function and animation in how they worked. They could even target the player and taunt them. All this symbolized Insomniac Games' desire to have a 3D world that truly interact with this character. Did you know Elijah Wood has voiced Spyro? Even though Tom Kenny is arguably the most associated voice actor for Spyro the Dragon, the characters have still experienced some very interesting substitutions throughout the years. Clearly the series wanted to tap into the mainstream market when it listed Elijah Wood to voice the character through the Legend of Spyro games. A big celebrity voice for that the character didn't really do the franchise any favors, but it sure was fascinating. Furthermore, Spyro's Dragonfly sidekick, Sparks, had also some pedigree in his voice throughout the franchise. David Spade, Wayne Brady, and Billy West. A NASA engineer was brought on board to handle Spyro's flight controls. Back when Spyro originally came out, players were too focused on the vast 3D world to scrutinize the enemies around Spyro's flight. After all, does anyone overanalyze if Mario should really be able to jump that high? In spite of this, Insomniac Games went above and beyond in this department and hired an engineer from NASA to assist with Spyro's flight controls. The main task here was to help to program the camera and Spyro's movements while he was in flight, as the camera proved to be quite problematic when it was directly behind Spyro. Did you know Spyro was originally green and named Pete? It's hard to imagine Spyro looking like anything other than a plucky purple dragon with yellow highlights. But the original plan for the character was decidedly different. Not only Spyro was going to be green instead of purple, but his name was supposed to be Pete. Eventually, it seemed that this could lead to legal problems with Disney's Pete the Dragon, so Insomniac decided to get creative and name the guy Spyro. Additionally, with Spyro's green color, he'd blend in too much with the game's celestial environment, so purple proved to be a solid fix in that area. If all of this wasn't enough, they intentionally wanted to make Spyro an adult too. There was almost a Spyro the Legend of Spyro Massive Online multiplayer. Massive Online multiplayers are great at uniting gamers, but they need a strong franchise to lean on in order to draw in people. This was even considered as a direction to take Spyro the Dragon into during a brief period. This Spyro Massive Online multiplayer game would have allowed players to control a random dragon in a world where Spyro has now aged and become the king. There are definitely a lack of dragon-centric games in this capacity. Sorry, I can't pronounce that right. But as the project continued to grow, just felt less and less like Spyro. It's a compelling idea for a game, but it was likely for the best, and Skylanders was eventually the direction that was taken. The track from Wizard Peak is used in an Amanda show. One of the most beloved features from the original Spyro games is its music. There are plenty of notable tracks from the various Spyro titles, but one of the pieces particularly raised a lot of questions. For instance, the Spyro series that happened to watch Nickelodeon sketch series, the Amanda show, noticed a surprising similarity between some of the music. Spyro's music for Wizard Peak level is nearly identical to the Amanda show's closing credits music. The reason for the similarity is that Stuart Copeland happens to be a composer for both Spyro and the Amanda show. Clearly thought the Wizard Peak music was an appropriate fit here. Another note: Spyro took inspiration from the movie Dragonheart. Back when Spyro was still in his earlier development stages, there was some interesting materials and Insomniac Games would draw inspiration from to help get the ball rolling. Spyro's end project is certainly intentional, cheerful, bright world, but back in project's infancy, there were plans for Spyro to take a much darker and grittier approach, rather than the mystical direction it would eventually adopt. Curiously, the 1996 film Dragonheart acted as a big inspiration in Spyro's early days, but there also weren't a ton of other Talking Dragons texts at the time. Did you know that Ripto's name is based off of Spyro's name in Japan? Spyro's first sequel, Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage, features an interesting antagonist that acts as perhaps the best foil that Spyro has to face. Other villains have come and gone throughout the series, but it seems Ripto is the one with the largest staying power. One of the reasons that Ripto works so well as a foil to Spyro is because he feels like his polar opposite in many ways. This parallel between the characters is hardly a coincidence. In fact, the letters for the name Spyro actually look like they say Ripto, and Japan's alphabetical typography. Insomniac played into this with their villain's name to hint at this dark version of the character. Funny you should mention it, Spyro was originally voiced by the Taco Bell dog. The character of Spyro has gone through a number of voice changes throughout its history, but for most people, their experience with Spyro was through Carlos Alazricchio, the character's original voice actor and famous voice actor for Taco Bell's mascot. Alazricchio was made a strong first impression, but he was replaced by Tom Kenny in the subsequent sequels. Kenny has largely been seen as a definite voice for the character, but there's still plenty of fandom out there for Alazricchio's interpretation of Spyro. It's worth noting that in Spyro Reignited Trilogy, Kenny re-records Alazricchio's lines for the original Spyro. This makes sense, but an option to switch to the original voice actor would have been a nice touch. Spyro Yoda Dragon has a robust code menu. Spyro the Dragon was certainly the most... Yoda Dragon was certainly the most advanced title from the original trilogy, but it made a point of indulging in certain areas that only the savviest of gamers knew about. Yoda Dragon actually contained a cheat menu of sorts where the button codes could be entered on the game's pause menu. The cheats allowed for practical advantages like 99 lives, but also contained many superfluous fun features. This included things like 2D Spyro, big-headed Spyro, blue, green, or red Spyro, and the ability to turn Spyro's skateboard into a squid. Perhaps the most exciting cheat was that you can even access a hidden demo for a Crash Bash. Games utilize intense copyright protection practices to prevent hacking the titles. The pirating scene during the days of the original PlayStation was notorious and prevalent. Insomniac Games took intense measures to protect Spyro 2 and it was still cracked in a week. Accordingly, they went above and beyond with Yoda Dragon and added a crack protection in addition to copy protection. Basically, when pirates removed one layer of protection, they would trigger another that was much more subtitled and unclear. These will break the game in subtitle ways like removing gems from the levels, changing the game's language, and the ultimate one, which was that attacking the final boss would send you back to the beginning of the game and erase your data. The game's creating orcs, gnome, orc hybrids. Spyro's universe has a wide list of unusual creatures that both want to help and hinder Spyro on his journey. The series plays around with plenty of established mythical creatures like dragons, but the games also have some liberties and create some new species too. Perhaps the most notable of Spyro's invented creatures is their Norks. Norks are neither gnomes nor orcs, but rather have some usual are a hybrid of the two. They're practically troublesome in the first game, Spyro game. Spyro's decision to create new species rather than rely on existing ones was a strong way to help them establish their voice. Spyro the Dragon was very defining for the PlayStation as far as the fully 3D platforms go. This wasn't lost on the audiences, and each title in the series has gone on to see particularly strong sales numbers. In fact, the PlayStation underwent a substantial price cut to compete against the upcoming release of Sega's Dreamcast. They also released a number of greatest hits budgeted titles, and Spyro made a cut. As of 2007, the first 3 games in the series have gone on to sell over 200 million units worldwide, and the original Spyro moved 5 million games alone. Did you know there is prototypes for Ratchet & Clank hidden in Ripto's Rage? After Insomniac Games had completed their Spyro trilogy, they would eventually move on to the equally successful Ratchet & Clank titles for the PlayStation 2. The Ratchet & Clank games contain a lot of Spyro's DNA, but they are push platformers more further in an impressive evolution of form. They may not be any purple dragon robots in Ratchet & Clank games, but there are some characters in the Spyro games that might be the basis of Insomniac Games' next big franchise. Just like Spyro 2, Ripto's Reigns containing a large orange monster, as well as a little robot that bears some resemblance to both Ratchet and Clank. One of the many ways in which Spyro Yoda Dragon attempts to make the gaming experience even more awesome in addition to skateboarding segments. Those that put a lot of time into the minigame, and especially good, as it made notice something significant in the names that Hunter gives to Spyro's skate moves. The gamers get Spyro to spin and twist enough times in the air to trigger some special moves that Hunter will eventually identify at the end of Spyro's run. The names of these techniques are Nasty Nork, Raging Ripto, which are both named after the two final bosses from the previous two games. If players get a really close up and personal to the details within Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage, they might notice something rather surprising in the Mystic Marsh area. Mystic Marsh contains a number of fountains and some nice attention to detail. The fountains also have some coins in them. The coins themselves are a fun touch, but if you look even closer, then you'll realize they have someone's face on them. This is the face of Insomniac Games employee Dan Johnson. Johnson would actually make it to a habit to have cameos in games that he works on, like the Reignited Trilogy series, but this marks Johnson's first in-game appearance. Spyro became one of the PlayStation's fledgling mascots in America, but strangely the series never had quite the same level of popularity in Japan. Spyro is still a recognizable product, but it not like it was in the United States or Europe. Part of the reason for the disconnect is that the version of Spyro the Dragon from Japan runs slower than its US counterpart, contains different camera functionality, and features a rampant hint post. What's even more bizarre is that the game offers a director's cut mode that just unlocks the regular speed of the US version of the game. These persistent issues eventually led to the Year of the Dragon never coming out to Japan. With platforms and adventure games, there's a real urge to make each new world completely different than the last, and to showcase as many diverse universes as possible. Spyro the Dragon subscribes to this policy, but rather than just randomly selecting cool themes to prop their levels on, they find inspiration in popular film to help dictate their design. Spyro the Dragon's Clifftown stage pulls from Star Wars. Beastmaker's hub is inspired by Apocalypse Now, and there's a heavy love for the Indiana Jones films that's also clear in the level design. All of this is then filtered through the game's fantastical perspective. Spyro the Dragon found a strong fan base during his days in the PlayStation, and reputation fluctuated once the character branched off and became multi-platform. There was even a dark time when it looked like the franchise was effectively over, and that the prospect of a new Spyro game just wasn't exciting anymore, perhaps due to oversaturation or rebalance of other popular series, but gamers eventually appear to have moved on. However, something very interesting happened with the release of Skylanders series, which basically co-opted Spyro. Spyro isn't just a character in Skylanders, but the first game is devoted to Spyro and his world. He just basically becomes their mascot. There's always been a lot of love and synergy between Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot series. The two officially team up in crossover in each other's series in the Game Boy Advance titles Crash Bandicoot Purple, Ripto's Rampage, and Spyro Orange, the Cortex Conspiracy. These games see the main antagonists from both series, Ripto and Dr. Neo Cortex, teaming up to conquer the universe. Spyro and Crash must do the same, and each game covers the same story, but from each character's perspectives. What's interesting here is that these games make Spyro go up against Crash Bandicoot baddies and put Crash in Spyro's world. It's a fun change of pace. The Silent Hill series is full of foreboding mysteries, but no one suspected that one of the conspiracies would touch on Spyro the Dragon. In a rather unusual occurrence that some more dedicated gamers have noticed, there's a similarity between Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage's music track for the Winter Tundra level, and Silent Hill, a Homecoming Wintry Mist piece. The tracks are nearly identical, especially when you slow down the one from Winter Tundra. Unlike the aforementioned the Amanda Show situation, Silent Hill Homecoming composer Akira Yamako, not Stuart Copeland. This is likely just a coincidence in composition, but it's still very strange. There are plenty of developer allies throughout the video game industry, but the story between Spyro's Insomnia Games and Crash Bandicoot's Naughty Dog is especially sweet. The two inadvertently created two unofficial mascots for the PlayStation that were instrumental to the medium, and their offices were directly across the hall from each other. Accordingly, the teams were so close, and they let the friendship spill over into their games. There's a Crash Bandicoot Warp demo hidden in the Spyro the Dragon, and vice versa. There's also a Crash Bass demo hidden in Year the Dragon, and a Spyro Reignited Trilogy Reignited trailer is even unlocked in Crash's Insane Trilogy. The Spyro the Dragon series has such a striking soundtrack. It's no coincidence that there was some serious talent involved with the music from all the original games in the series. Creature says it was McCullough's Dragons need an appropriate soundtrack to immerse gamers in this world, especially when it's 3D and open in the way that the Spyro games were. Stuart Copeland, who's a drummer for the Police, carefully composed Spyro's music. The scene for the Jackody's level is even ended up on his Stuart Copeland's Agnology and reintitled as Rain. Copeland's son Patrick would eventually even go on to later work for Insomnia Games. Did you know Aurora from Ripto's Rage was originally supposed to be a centaur? The Spyro series gained a lot of personality when it added more and more friends into Spyro's orbit. Sure, a dragon is a lot of fun, but why can't he have an electric cast of characters along his side too? Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage introduces both Spyro 2 and players to Aurora and Hunter, and they're both fun additions to the universe. Aurora is a spunky fawn, but the original plan was to make the character something much more extreme, a centaur. A centaur would definitely play into the mystical angle of the series, but ultimately the character design just seems subpar, and that something simpler, like a fawn, would be a safer decision. For the most part, the PlayStation was seen as a console that skewed more to the teen and adult markets, and while this wasn't a problem, the advent of the N64 saw the competitor obtaining most of the younger demographic. Sony was beginning to see how valuable the market could be, so they needed titles that would skew younger so they can compete with Nintendo. This whole agenda led to the creation of Spyro, which is also why Insomniac never owned the complete rights to the franchise, and that Sony would eventually was ultimately in charge, which is why it was later sold off. The transition from video games to feature films is always a risky gambit, and even the most established properties can fall on their faces. It's a hard area to predict, and there's a reason that there's still a pick edition to turn something as popular as The Legend of Zelda or Metroid into features films. Spyro has a lot of catch as a character, and there was a point when Universal intended to push the series into a film. They had the rights to do something with the character for years, but never acted. This would later fall apart after the Activision Blizzard merger went through, but it's probably for the best that Spyro remains limited to video games. One of the biggest differences in Spyro Year the Dragon is that the players get to control a number of Spyro's friends to complete different challenges and levels that are catered to unique abilities. One of the more popular secondary characters to come out of the sequel was Agent 9, a trigger-happy monkey who's just the right amount of bonkers. Agent 9 registered so much with fans that at one point the character had 2 separate spin-offs in development. Agent 9 would have been a traditional follow-up to the character's Spyro exploits, whereas Prime 9 would have been a reboot of the character, but retained the basics. Never happened. It's safe to say Spyro the Dragon made his strongest impression on the PlayStation, but as time went on, the series has increasingly branched out. Not only did Spyro become a character that could appear on any system, but there was also a string of unsuccessful mobile games that were showcasing the character. Some of the mobile games are able to retain the charm of the series, but the most prospecting title is Infuso's Spyro the Dragon, which is a very dress-up game. The weird low-stakes title has become a sought-out relic to some extent, but it defies logic. The PlayStation featured a bite-sized peripheral in Japan that was known as the Pocket Station. The peripheral would connect to the games and allow for added content, whether it be mini-games or creative way to convey extra information from a game. The Pocket Station unfortunately never made it over to the US, but the version of Spyro the Dragon from Japan didn't incorporate this function. The Pocket Station offered a game where you train your own dragonfly, which made great use of the physical in an inspired way. It's just tragic the version from Japan had this extra feature, even though the game was less popular over there. These are all the Spyro goodies that we can put together. So, did you guys learn something? I sure did. I didn't know. Yeah, Spyro's... Originally, Spyro's name was supposed to be Pete. Great, wow. I did not know that. I gotta go do something real quick. So, was that interesting facts or what? I didn't know. I'm so enticed now. Uh-oh, the audio's acting up. Let me reopen the game. That's weird. I've never done that before. Take to sell. Not using my camera. There we go, that's better. Ow! Oh, my knee!
Spyro, it's great to see you, but I gotta go.
Number one or number two? Or three. Three words. Three fronts. Okay, that was just weird. He said I gotta go. What? You gotta go potty? This is wild for it. Here we go. definitely not the way to do it. Oh, let's see if I remember old playthrough of me playing Spyro the Dragon, the original. Is like I already got the achievement. Not supposed to land. By not supposed to land, I mean not supposed to land on the ground. Oh man, that's not how you do it. There is a... What the... Yeah, there's an achievement where you have to do it without falling. But since I already got the achievement, I don't have to worry about it. It's really hard. Not really hard, but it's difficult. stop. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to end this recording because of a big time storm. A big time storm just hit over from the mountainside, and it's like really bad to play games during the storm. So, for safety precautions, I'm gonna turn my computer off. I hope you guys enjoyed my playthrough, and I'll continue it tomorrow. Hopefully this storm subsided by then. Anyways, guys, have a blast, stay safe, and see you guys next time. Be sure to like and subscribe.